Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to be here with all of you today. I want to talk about something that is as powerful as it is often overlooked, the mind. More specifically, the idea that if you train your mind, you can transform your life. That's not just a catchy phrase, it's a truth backed by science, by experience, and by the journeys of countless people who have faced challenges, setbacks, and even failure, yet emerged stronger through the force of mental discipline and focus. Training your mind starts with self-awareness. You have to know what you're thinking and why you're thinking it. Too often, we live on autopilot, driven by fear, anger, or insecurity, without even realizing it. But when you pause and reflect, when you take the time to listen to that voice inside, you begin to understand where your thoughts come from. And once you understand that, you gain the power to shape them. But this isn't about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring the hard truths. Life is messy. It's unfair sometimes. There will be days when things fall apart, when your plans unravel, when the world feels like it's pushing back against every step you take. In those moments, the strength of your mind matters more than ever. Because if you've trained yourself to stay calm, to stay focused, to stay hopeful, then even when life knocks you down, you'll get back up stronger. That kind of resilience doesn't happen overnight. It comes from practice, from making choices every day to rise above the noise and distraction, from reading books that challenge your perspective, from listening more than you speak, from surrounding yourself with people who lift you up and push you to be better, and from learning how to quiet the doubts that creep in during moments of uncertainty. When you train your mind to see failure not as defeat but as a lesson, to see struggle not as punishment but as preparation, then you start to unlock a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. You become more disciplined, more compassionate, more courageous, and when that transformation begins inside, it doesn't stop there. It changes how you treat your family, how you show up for your community, how you lead in your work, and how you move through this world. Let's not underestimate how powerful that is. We often think change happens because of policy or institutions. And yes, those things matter. But real, lasting change begins with individuals, with minds trained not just to achieve personal success, but to lift others as they climb. Minds that ask not only what can I get, but what can I give. That kind of mindset is contagious, and when enough people embrace it, that's when societies move forward. So train your mind, sharpen it, challenge it, and then use it, not just to improve your own life, but to make life better for others. Because transformation doesn't stop at the individual, it ripples outward. And before long, what starts with a single mind becomes a movement. Self-awareness is the foundation of mental strength because it allows us to see ourselves clearly and honestly. Too often, we move through life reacting to things without really knowing why. We might lash out in anger, withdraw in fear, or avoid challenges because of deep, seated beliefs or past experiences we haven't examined. When you're not aware of what's driving you, your emotions and habits end up running the show. That's why developing self-awareness is the first and most important step in training the mind. It gives you the clarity to take back control. Being self-aware doesn't mean being self-critical. It's not about judging yourself harshly or constantly second-guessing your thoughts. It means observing your mind with curiosity and honesty. What are you feeling right now? Where did that reaction come from? Is this thought helping you move forward or holding you back? These are the kinds of questions that help you step outside your emotional reactions and begin to understand their source. This process can be uncomfortable. It can force you to face things you've been ignoring, fears you've buried, truths you've avoided, or patterns that have kept you stuck. But the discomfort is worth it, because once you start recognizing these patterns, you can begin to change them. You don't have to be stuck in cycles of anger, procrastination, or insecurity. you can choose a different response. And that choice starts with awareness. Practices like journaling, meditation, or even just taking a quiet walk can help build this kind of awareness. These moments of stillness give you the space to hear your own thoughts clearly without the noise of the outside world. Over time, that clarity becomes a kind of strength. You learn to catch yourself in moments of stress or fear. You pause, you breathe, and instead of reacting impulsively, you respond with intention. That's the power of a trained mind. When you understand what's going on inside you, you become more grounded. You don't get thrown off course as easily. You don't look to the outside world to tell you who you are or what you're worth. You start trusting your own voice. That's when real growth begins, not because the world changes, but because you do. Resilience comes from mental training, not just from being naturally tough or having a strong personality. It's a skill, something you build over time through deliberate effort and consistent practice. Many people believe resilience is about pushing through no matter what, never showing weakness, or always staying positive. But true resilience is more than that. It's about how you respond when life hits you hard. It's about how quickly and effectively you recover, not because you pretend everything is fine, but because you've trained your mind to stay steady when things are uncertain. Everyone faces setbacks. There are times when plans fall apart, when opportunities disappear, when people let you down, or when you let yourself down. You can't control every situation, but you can control how you respond to it. That's where mental training comes in. It gives you the emotional tools to sit with discomfort, to process pain without being overwhelmed by it, and to keep moving forward even when the path isn't clear. This kind of training doesn't happen in a single moment. It's built slowly, often in small, quiet choices, getting up again after a failure, choosing not to give in to self-doubt, staying focused when you feel discouraged. You build resilience every time you face something difficult and decide not to give up. Each time you push through with patience and perspective, you're not just surviving. You're becoming stronger, more adaptable, and more capable. And it's not just about enduring hardships. A resilient mind learns how to extract meaning from struggle. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" it asks, "What can I learn from this?" That shift in perspective is powerful. It allows you to turn challenges into opportunities for growth. It doesn't mean you won't feel pain. It means you won't be defined by it. When your mind is trained to stay grounded during storms, you don't panic. You don't lose yourself in frustration or fear. You find a way to breathe, to focus, and to act with purpose even when the world around you feels chaotic. That's the essence of resilience. It's not about being unaffected. It's about being unbroken. And like any strength, it grows each time you use it. Daily habits shape your mind set more powerfully than any single moment of inspiration. While big breakthroughs and motivational events can spark change, it's the quiet, consistent routines we keep that truly mold how we think, feel, and respond to life. Training your mind isn't something you do once. It's a daily commitment, and the habits you choose either strengthen your mental resilience or weaken it over time. Every day, you make countless decisions about how you use your time, your attention, and your energy. These decisions may seem small, whether you reach for your phone first thing in the morning, whether you take a few moments to reflect or write, whether you read something that challenges you, but together, they shape the structure of your mind. Just like your body needs regular movement and nutrition, your mind needs consistent nourishment. That nourishment comes from positive, intentional habits. Reading, for instance, is a habit that feeds the mind. It expands your thinking, introduces you to new perspectives, and forces you to consider ideas beyond your own experience. It's not about agreeing with everything you read, but about keeping your mind open, flexible, and curious. That curiosity is essential in a world that's constantly changing. When you make a habit of seeking out new knowledge and perspectives, you train your mind to adapt, to think critically, and to stay sharp. Another powerful habit is reflection, taking time to sit with your thoughts, to ask yourself how you're really doing, and to notice patterns in your behavior. Journaling, meditation, or even 10 minutes of quiet thinking can bring surprising clarity. These moments slow your mind down and allow you to respond to life with intention rather than impulse. Equally important is the habit of choosing your environment, especially the people you spend time with. Surrounding yourself with others who challenge you, support you, and share your values can elevate your thinking. Just as negativity is contagious, so is growth. Being around people who are committed to bettering themselves will push you to do the same. These habits might not feel revolutionary in the moment, but over time they rewire how you see yourself and how you handle the world around you. They create a mindset that's focused, grounded, and resilient. And it's that mindset, not talent, not luck, that becomes the foundation for long-term transformation. Failure is a lesson, not a defeat. That shift in mindset is one of the most powerful ways to train your mind and transform your life. For many people, failure feels final. It feels like a dead end, a verdict that says you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy of success. But in reality, failure is simply feedback. It's information. It's the world saying, this approach didn't work, try another. When you start to see failure this way, it becomes not something to fear, but something to learn from. Everyone fails. No one who's ever achieved anything meaningful has done it without facing setbacks. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck is how they respond to failure. Do you internalize it, allowing it to define your identity, or do you examine it, break it apart, and use it to fuel your next step? That response is what separates a fixed mindset from a growth mindset. A fixed mindset sees failure as proof of inadequacy. A growth mindset sees it as part of the process. Training your mind to embrace failure doesn't mean you enjoy it or seek it out. It means you recognize it as an inevitable part of growth. In fact, the bigger your goals, the more likely you are to stumble along the way. But those stumbles don't mean you're off track. They often mean you're getting closer. Because each failure teaches you something valuable. How to improve your strategy, how to build resilience, how to deal with disappointment, how to adjust your expectations. Think about how children learn. A child falls hundreds of times before learning to walk. Yet no one tells them to stop trying. They get back up again and again, because instinctively they know that failure is just part of learning. Somewhere along the way, many of us lose that mindset. We become afraid of looking foolish, of being judged, of not meeting expectations. But if we can return to that childlike willingness to fail in the service of growth, we unlock incredible potential. When you stop seeing failure as something to avoid and start seeing it as something to understand, everything changes. Setbacks become stepping stones, criticism becomes guidance, and mistakes become part of your story, not the end of it. That's how failure transforms from defeat into development, and it's how a trained mind stays focused, grounded, and determined no matter how many times it's knocked down. Inner transformation leads to outward impact because the way you think shapes the way you act, and the way you act influences everything around you. When you begin to change your mindset, when you develop greater clarity, discipline, and purpose, it doesn't just stay inside you. It begins to reflect in how you speak, how you treat others, how you show up in your relationships, and how you handle responsibilities. That's why personal growth is never just personal. It creates a ripple effect. People often think that changing the world requires big gestures, huge movements, bold policies, sweeping reform. And while those things matter, they almost always begin with individuals who have done the work within themselves first. A person who has trained their mind to be calm in chaos can lead others through crisis. A person who has learned to let go of ego can make room for collaboration and empathy. A person who has cultivated self-awareness is far less likely to project pain or insecurity onto others. That's how internal change becomes social change. When you train your mind to be more patient, more focused, more compassionate, that growth naturally spills over into your daily interactions. You begin to listen better, to judge less, to support others in their own journey. You become a more thoughtful partner, a more engaged parent, a more responsible leader. You start to recognize the humanity in others more easily because you've done the work to better understand your own. And the beauty of this is that it's contagious. People are deeply influenced by energy, by attitude, by presence. When someone walks into a room with calm confidence, not arrogance, but grounded self-belief, it shifts the mood. When someone offers kindness or patience in a tense moment, it changes the tone. These things might seem small, but they build trust, open hearts, and create space for others to grow too. Transformation that begins with the mind doesn't stop there. It reaches into your work, your community, your influence. Whether you realize it or not, you're setting an example. The way you carry yourself becomes a model for others. And when enough people make that internal shift, when enough minds are trained not just to succeed, but to uplift, real, lasting change begins to take root in the world around us. Personal mindset fuels collective progress because meaningful change always begins with individuals who choose to think and act differently. When people train their minds to be focused, resilient, and purpose-driven, they naturally start to affect the people around them. Their behavior, decisions, and values influence their families, their workplaces, and their communities. And when enough people make that shift, when enough minds are aligned toward growth, empathy, and responsibility, society begins to move forward in powerful and lasting ways. You don't need a title or a spotlight to be a leader. You just need the discipline to manage your thoughts, the courage to examine your beliefs, and the commitment to act with integrity. Every time you choose to respond with kindness instead of anger, every time you choose curiosity over judgment, every time you take responsibility instead of making excuses, you're shaping not only your own character, but the culture around you. That is how real influence works. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It shows up consistently, clearly, and quietly, and invites others to do the same. The truth is, most of the world's greatest transformations didn't begin with governments or institutions. They began with ordinary people who had extraordinary clarity about who they were and what they stood for. People who trained their minds not just for personal success, but to be instruments of change. That mindset, rooted in discipline, fueled by purpose, and driven by service, is the foundation of progress, because when enough individuals do the inner work, the outer world starts to change with them. So if you want to change your life, if you want to make a difference, start by training your mind. Build the habits that sharpen your thinking. Develop the awareness that deepens your understanding. Practice the discipline that strengthens your resolve. And then use that strength not only to rise, but to lift others as you do. That's how you transform your life. That's how you help transform the lives of those around you. And in the end, that's how we move forward together. One mind at a time, one life at a time, one act of intention, one choice of integrity, one day of courage after another. Thank you.